Did Norway deport Muslims, causing the country's crime rate to drop 31%? No, that's not true. Norway did increase deportation of immigrants who were sentenced to prison, but Muslims were not targeted and the largest number deported were from Eastern European countries. The crime rate in Norway, which was already low compared to the United States, has dropped over the past several years, just as it has in the United States. The story first appeared in 2014, but was recently copied word for word and posted as if new in an article published on June 17, 2019 titled, "Norway Waking Up, Norway Deports Muslims, Crime Rate Drops 31%, which opened. Quote, Oslo, Norway, the world's largest gang of thugs, murderers, and rapists is masquerading as a religion of peace, says Adrian Stavig, a resident of Oslo. Beginning this past January, the new Norwegian Prime Minister, Erna Solberg, began a program which targets and deports Muslims who have ties to radical groups. Something stunning occurred. The country's violent crimes are down more than 31% in less than a year since Muslim deportations began. End quote. Users on social media only saw this title, description and thumbnail. Quote, Norway Waking Up, Norway Deports Muslims, Crime Rate Drops 31%. Oslo, Norway, the world's largest gang of thugs, murderers, and rapists is masquerading as a religion of peace, says Adrian Stavig, a resident of Oslo. Beginning this past January, the new Norwegian Prime Minister, Erna Solberg, began a program which targets and deports Muslims who have ties to radical groups. Something stunning occurred. The country's, end quote. The story suggested that Norway's fictional experience with deporting Muslims could be an example for other countries. Quote, liberals everywhere are crying racism. Al Jazeera has blasted Solberg relentlessly for her so-called Islamophobia, but she has pressed on by deporting any Muslims who belong to radical mosques or threaten violence against non-believers, and sent their entire families home too. While many in America would say this is racist, it's worked in dramatic fashion. Violent crimes are down more than 31% in Norway. What a shocker. Perhaps the rest of Europe and the United States could learn a lesson or two about radical Islam here. Deport the radicals, keep the moderates, and everybody wins. End quote. This 2019 story is identical to an article published on November 15, 2014, by a now-defunct website politicalears.com. That story titled, Is Anybody Surprised? Norway Deports Muslims, Crime Rate Drops 31% is now offline, but it is and below is a screenshot. The truth about Norway's immigrant deportation program can be found in a report from the Library of Congress titled Norway, Government Plans to Crack Down on Returning Foreign Convicts, published on March 11, 2013. Quote, the Norwegian government is reforming two aspects of immigration policy related to foreign convicts in the country. As reported on February 22, 2013, the Ministry of Justice and Public Security is formulating changes in the law in order to send returning foreign convicts back out of Norway and to enhance punishments against the offenders. On June 7, 2011, the Norwegian Parliament ratified legislation to accord the police extended powers to send foreign inmates back to Latvia, Lithuania, and Romania, under bilateral agreements signed with these countries. End quote. It targeted foreign convicts, not Muslims. In fact, only one majority Muslim country, Iraq, was among the top 5 origins of the deported convicts, the report said. Quote, Norwegian Broadcasting reported in June 2011 that about 30% of convicts serving prison terms in Norway were foreign citizens, with those from Poland leading the list, followed by Lithuania, Nigeria, Iraq and Romania. The Norwegian newspaper Aftenposten reported that, in 2011, 794 foreign convicts were deported, based on an innreiseforbud, a formal order disallowing re-entry to Norway. In 2012, similar orders were issued for another 1,019 foreign convicts, as part of a concerted government effort to enforce the law allowing expulsion when foreigners have committed crimes. End quote. Crime rates have been dropping in Norway, but the 31% decline cited in the story is not based on fact. The U.S. Department of State's most recent assessment of crime in Norway said, quote, there is minimal risk from crime in Oslo. Norway has a relatively low level of crime in comparison to the US and most of Western Europe. The total amount of crime reported in Oslo for 2017 decreased from 2016 by 5.6%. The majority of the criminal cases reported to the police continue to be theft-related incidents. In Oslo and the other major urban areas, crime centers on the inner city and high transit areas.